Welcome to WebLizard Cert Lab and video 3 of the 5-part AB-650 practice set. In this part, you will work through 27 questions on Defender and Microsoft Purview security. Listen for the deciding scope, sequence, and management control in each scenario. You will hear each complete question and every answer option. After the cue, lock in your answer, there is a true 3-second silence. Then, the correct selection appears before a concise, clue-driven explanation. Pause whenever you want more thinking time. Question 1. Microsoft Defender for Office 365 has associated several alerts and an automated investigation with the same developing attack. The security operations lead needs one place to prioritize the work, assign ownership, classify the case, and preserve progress comments as new related evidence arrives. What should the team do? Answer A. Manage the attack from its entry in the Microsoft Defender XDR incidents queue. Answer B. Use built-in alert tuning to suppress every alert in the developing attack. Answer C. Create a new alert policy to organize the already related alerts and investigation. Answer D. Use email notifications as the primary record for ownership, classification, and comment history. Answer E. Track each alert as an independent case and avoid incident-level assignment or classification. Lock in your answer. The correct answer is A. Manage the attack from its entry in the Microsoft Defender XDR incidents queue. When a relationship is determined, Defender correlates alerts, investigations, and their data into an incident that represents the attack story over time. The incidents queue supports prioritization, filtering, classification, assignment, tags, and progress comments, while new related evidence is added to the incident. When Defender has already related evidence into an attack story, manage the incident lifecycle rather than redesigning alert generation or fragmenting the evidence back into separate alerts. Question 2. A security team repeatedly receives alerts for a well-understood benign activity. The team wants to suppress alerts for this common activity without interrupting AIR investigations or email notifications. What should the team use? Answer A. A process that manually resolves each related incident after review. Answer B. A new alert policy that generates another alert for the same activity. Answer C. A built-in Microsoft Defender XDR alert tuning rule. Answer D. An incidents queue filter that hides the related incidents from the current view. Lock in your answer. Built-in Microsoft Defender XDR alert tuning rules reduce reporting noise from common benign activity by suppressing alerts. AIR investigations and email notifications continue, and a new alert is reactivated if AIR detects malicious or suspicious activity. The correct answer is C, a built-in Microsoft Defender XDR alert tuning rule. When the requirement combines recurring benign noise reduction with continued AIR and notification behavior, distinguish built-in alert tuning from alert generation and queue view management. Question 3. A compliance team wants an alert to be generated when cloud mailbox users perform activity that matches defined conditions, such as an unusual level of file deletion or external sharing. Which Defender for Office 365 mechanism should an administrator configure? Answer A. An incident classification applied after an alert is generated. Answer B. An alert policy on the alert policy page. Answer C. A built-in alert tuning rule for benign activity. Answer D. An assignment from the incidents queue. Lock in your answer. Separate alert generation from post-generation handling. Conditions that should produce an alert belong to alert policies, while assignment and classification manage existing incidents. Alert policies generate alerts in the alert dashboard when cloud mailbox users take actions that match policy conditions. Microsoft identifies unusual file deletions and external sharing as examples of activities monitored by default alert policies, and administrators can view and create policies on the alert policy page. The correct answer is B, an alert policy on the alert policy page. Question 4. An organization is deploying Defender for Office 365 protection to all recipients. No business requirement calls for settings that differ from Microsoft's recommended baseline. And the security team wants to minimize custom policy maintenance. Which strategy should the team use? Answer A. Turn on the standard and/or strict preset security policies and include all recipients. Answer B. Rely only on the unchanged default threat policies. Answer C. Create one custom anti-phishing policy for a small group and leave all other recipients outside the presets. Answer D. Create a custom policy for every threat protection feature. Lock in your answer. Select a baseline threat policy strategy for broad recipient protection with minimal custom maintenance. Microsoft recommends turning on standard and/or strict preset security policies for all recipients. The correct answer is A. Turn on the standard and/or strict preset security policies and include all recipients. Use preset security policies as the broad recommended baseline. Introduce custom threat policies only when a stated business need requires different behavior. Question 5. A finance group needs anti-phishing behavior that differs from the organization's broad preset protection. Some finance users are currently included in more than one anti-phishing policy. The custom behavior must determine what happens to matching messages for those users. What should the administrator do? Answer A. Place the custom anti-phishing policy after another applicable policy and expect its different settings to override that policy. Answer B. Create an alert policy for phishing events instead of configuring a custom anti-phishing policy. Answer C. Include the finance users in multiple anti-phishing policies and expect the settings from all applicable policies to merge. Answer D. Create a custom anti-phishing policy scoped to the finance group and ensure it is the first applicable anti-phishing policy for those users. Lock in your answer. Custom anti-phishing policies can target specific users, groups, or domains. The correct answer is D. Create a custom anti-phishing policy scoped to the finance group and ensure it is the first applicable anti-phishing policy for those users. When a user is included in multiple policies of the same feature, the first applicable policy in the order of precedence determines what happens to the item, and further policy evaluation for that feature and item stops. For overlapping policies of one threat protection feature, reason from scope and order of precedence. The first applicable policy wins for the item, and later policies are not evaluated. Question 6. During a policy audit, an administrator confirms that a user and a specific message are in scope for policy A and policy B of the same threat protection feature. Policy A is the first applicable policy in the order of precedence. How is the message processed for that user? Answer A. Policy A determines what happens, and policy B is not evaluated for that feature and item. Answer B. The policy with the strictest individual setting determines the result, regardless of precedence. Answer C. Policy A processes the message first, and policy B then processes the result from policy A. Answer D. Policy A and policy B are both evaluated, and their settings are merged. Lock in your answer. When the same user and item match multiple policies of one feature, identify the first applicable policy. Do not combine or chain later policies. The correct answer is A. Policy A determines what happens, and policy B is not evaluated for that feature and item. For policies of a specific feature, the first applicable threat policy, based on order of precedence, determines what happens to the item. Once it applies, policy processing for that feature, user, and specific item stops. No more policies of that feature are evaluated. Question 7. Analysts suspect that a phishing campaign has affected multiple recipients. Before choosing remediation, they need to analyze the attack volume over time and compare evidence by threat family and attacker infrastructure. Where should they begin? Answer A, the Alert Policy page. Answer B, Explore and Real-Time Detections in Defender for Office 365. Answer C, the Anti-Phishing Policy Editor. Answer D, Action Center History without first establishing the campaign evidence. Lock in your answer. The correct answer is B, Explorer and Real-Time Detections in Defender for Office 365. Use Explorer when the immediate task is to investigate and scope threat evidence. Move to remediation and its history only after the affected set is understood. Explorer, also called Threat Explorer, is the starting place for security analysts' investigation workflow. It supports threat analysis, attack volume analysis over time, and analysis by threat families and attacker infrastructure. Question 8. An investigation has identified malicious email that was delivered to user mailboxes. The security team must act on the delivered messages and then review the recorded remediation. Which two actions should the team take? Answer A, resolve the related alert without taking an action against the email entity. Answer B, create another alert policy and use its status as proof that the messages were remediated. Answer C, review the remediation in Actions and Submissions, Action Center, History. Answer D, change a preventive threat policy and assume that the already delivered messages are removed. Answer E, use a supported remediation action, such as soft delete or hard delete, against the malicious email. Lock in your answer. Security teams can remediate malicious delivered email with actions that include soft delete and hard delete. Remediation created in Explorer, Advanced Hunting, or through automated investigation appears in the Action Center History tab, where the recorded action can be reviewed. Treat entity action and operational tracking as separate requirements. Remediate the delivered email, then verify the remediation record in Action Center History. C and E are correct. C, review the remediation in Actions and Submissions, Action Center, History. E, use a supported remediation action, such as soft delete or hard delete, against the malicious email. Question 9. A compliance analyst is building one audit view of remediation direct approvals in the Microsoft Defender portal. Which three remediation origins have their records displayed in Action Center History? Answer A, anti-phishing policy editing. Answer B, alert policy creation. Answer C, automated investigation. Answer D, Explorer. Answer E, advanced hunting. Lock in your answer. C, D, and E are correct. C, automated investigation. D, Explorer. E, advanced hunting. Identify the three supported remediation origins whose direct approval records converge in Action Center History for audit review. Microsoft states that remediation direct approvals created in Explorer, Advanced Hunting, or through automated investigation are displayed in Actions and Submissions, Action Center History. For remediation auditing, distinguish workflows that create remediation records from configuration surfaces that define protection or alert generation. Question 10. A security awareness team needs to assign training directly to a selected group and launch it next month. The team does not need to test users with a simulated phishing attack first. What should the team create? Answer A, a training campaign with the selected users and a future launch date and time. Answer B, an alert policy that monitors whether the selected users start training. Answer C, a one-time phishing simulation that eventually leads users to training. Answer D, a simulation automation with attack payloads that launch when conditions are met. Lock in your answer. Training campaigns provide a direct way to assign security training to users instead of first launching a simulated phishing attack. Choose a training campaign when the outcome is direct user training. Choose simulation capabilities when the outcome includes testing users with attack payloads. Create a direct training campaign for a selected population and schedule. The correct answer is A, a training campaign with a selected users and a future launch date and time. Question 11. A security team wants safe phishing exercises to launch through an automated flow when chosen conditions are met. The exercises must use selected attack techniques and payloads. Which two design choices satisfy the requirement? Answer A. Configure the automated flow with the required techniques, payloads, and launch conditions. Answer B. Schedule a future training campaign and omit attack techniques and payloads. Answer C. Use a simulation automation rather than a direct training campaign. Answer D. Assign a training campaign directly to users without configuring a simulated attack. Answer E. Launch one manual simulation and treat it as a condition-driven automated flow. Lock in your answer. Configure a simulation automation that launches selected attack payloads under defined conditions and schedule. A and C are correct. A. Configure the automated flow with the required techniques, payloads, and launch conditions. C. Use a simulation automation rather than a direct training campaign. Attack simulation training supports automated flows that use specific techniques and payloads and launch when chosen conditions are met. That requirement calls for simulation automation and configuration of the attack content and launch conditions, not a direct training campaign. Map the required outcome to the mechanism. Direct education points to training campaigns, while condition-driven attack payload launches point to simulation automation. Question 12. A security team plans to create an automated attack simulation training flow that will later launch selected techniques and payloads when defined conditions are met. According to the setup guidance, which two prerequisites must the team confirm before it configures the flow? Answer A. Confirm that the administrators have the required permissions. Answer B. Confirm that training has already been assigned directly to the pilot users. Answer C. Confirm that the organization has the required licensing. Answer D. Confirm that a future launch date has already been set for a direct training campaign. Answer E. Confirm that an attack technique and payload have already been selected for the automated flow. Lock in your answer. When a setup guide explicitly places prerequisite review before configuration, separate readiness checks from later design and launch choices. Identify the licensing and permissions validations that must precede configuration of an automated attack simulation training flow. A and C are correct. A. Confirm that the administrators have the required permissions. C. Confirm that the organization has the required licensing. Before setting up an automated flow, the official setup guidance directs the team to review prerequisites and confirm both required licensing and required permissions. Question 13. A company uses Microsoft Teams for collaboration with guests. When a user shares a document containing regulated data in a Teams channel or chat, guests must be prevented from opening that document. Which two locations must the DLP policy include to enforce this document protection? Answer A, devices. Answer B, SharePoint. Answer C, Teams chat and channel messages. Answer D, OneDrive. Answer E, Exchange email. Lock in your answer. B and D are correct. B, SharePoint. D, OneDrive. A document shared through a Teams channel or chat is protected through the locations that store the document. Microsoft states that the DLP policy must include both SharePoint and OneDrive for this protection to be enforced. For collaboration scenarios, identify where the protected content is stored instead of assuming the application surface alone owns enforcement. Question 14. A company creates a DLP policy for endpoint data movement. The policy should be enforced only when an intended employee uses an intended corporate device. Which policy configuration satisfies the enforcement requirement? Answer A. Include teams, then scope the policy to the intended employee and corporate device. Answer B. Include the device's location and the intended corporate device, but exclude the employee from the policy scope. Answer C. Include the device's location and the intended employee, but exclude the corporate device from the policy scope. Answer D. Include SharePoint and OneDrive, then scope the policy to the intended employee and corporate device. Answer E. Include the device's location, the intended employee, and the intended corporate device in the policy scope. Lock in your answer. Endpoint enforcement requires the DLP policy to include the device's location. Microsoft also states that both the user and the device must be included in policy scope for the policy to be enforced on an endpoint. The correct answer is E. Include the device's location, the intended employee, and the intended corporate device in the policy scope. For Endpoint DLP, verify both the enforcement location and every required scope dimension. A partial scope is not equivalent to conjunctive scope. Question 15. A compliance architect must address oversharing across SharePoint, an on-premises file share, and a non-Microsoft Cloud application. The architect wants a location-aware Microsoft Purview control that can target all three data sources. Which approach should the architect choose? Answer A. Configure a sensitivity label policy as the location selection control for all three sources. Answer B. Configure Microsoft Purview DLP for the Microsoft 365 location and the added on-premises and non-Microsoft Cloud locations. Answer C. Configure a retention policy as the location selection control for oversharing. Answer D. Configure only the team's DLP location for the organization. Answer E. Configure only the Endpoint DLP device's location and scope it to all employees and devices. Lock in your answer. When a requirement spans first-party and added data sources, look for the control whose scope model explicitly follows locations. Microsoft Purview DLP is the documented location-aware mechanism for monitoring and protecting against oversharing. Its target locations can include Microsoft 365 locations, such as SharePoint, as well as added locations, such as on-premises file shares and non-Microsoft Cloud apps. The correct answer is B. Configure Microsoft Purview DLP for the Microsoft 365 location and the added on-premises and non-Microsoft Cloud locations. Question 16. A compliance team needs Microsoft Purview to identify items that contain an organization-specific identifier. The identifier can be detected by a custom regular expression or by a function. No protection or lifecycle action is part of this requirement. What should the team configure? Answer A. A sensitivity label policy. Answer B. An automatic sensitivity labeling configuration. Answer C. A sensitive information type. Answer D. A DLP policy. Answer E. A retention label. Lock in your answer. Choose a sensitive information type when the sole requirement is to identify content through a custom regular expression or function. Sensitive information types identify sensitive items by using built-in or custom regular expressions or a function. The correct answer is C, a sensitive information type. Separate the component that recognizes content from the policies or labels that may later act on recognized content. Question 17. A company is designing a sensitivity label policy. The full classification catalog must be available to every employee. New items must start with the general classification, and lowering or removing a classification must require an accountable reason. Which three policy settings implement these requirements? Answer A. Set general as the default label for items. Answer B. Require justification to remove a label or lower its classification. Answer C. Configure automatic labeling for content that meets selected conditions. Answer D. Create a sensitive information type by using a custom regular expression. Answer E. Configure manual labeling as the only method for new items. Answer F. Publish all labels to all users. Lock in your answer. The documented example sensitivity label policy combines all three required settings: publish all labels to all users, configure a default label for items, and require justification when a user removes a label or lowers its classification. A, B, and F are correct. A. Set general as the default label for items. B. Require justification to remove a label or lower its classification. F. Publish all labels to all users. For a compound policy requirement, map each requested outcome to one policy setting and reject attractive features that do not implement a stated outcome. Question 18. Before designing label settings, an information protection team must choose a deployment plan made up only of workloads and containers explicitly documented as supporting sensitivity labels. Which plan meets that evidence boundary? Answer A. Use sensitivity labels with Word documents, Teams meetings, SharePoint and OneDrive site containers, and Microsoft 365 groups. Answer B. Use sensitivity labels with Word documents, Teams meetings, endpoint devices, and Microsoft 365 groups. Answer C. Use sensitivity labels with Outlook items, Teams meetings, on-premises file shares, and Microsoft 365 groups. Answer D. Use sensitivity labels with Word documents, Teams chat messages, SharePoint and OneDrive site containers, and Microsoft 365 groups. Answer E. Use sensitivity labels with Excel workbooks, PowerPoint presentations, non-Microsoft Cloud apps, and Microsoft 365 groups. Lock in your answer. When a design is constrained to documented support, validate every workload in the proposed bundle. One unproven target invalidates the bundle. The correct answer is A. Use sensitivity labels with Word documents, Teams meetings, SharePoint and OneDrive site containers, and Microsoft 365 groups. Sensitivity labels support Word documents and Teams meetings, as well as SharePoint and OneDrive site containers and Microsoft 365 groups. The correct plan stays entirely within that documented support set. Question 19. A compliance team defines one lifecycle baseline for all content in two identified Microsoft 365 workloads. No item-level exceptions are currently required. The team wants the configuration to apply broadly rather than depend on users or matching criteria selecting individual items. Which mechanism should you implement first? Answer A. Publish a retention label for users to apply manually to items in both workloads. Answer B. Create a retention policy for the two identified workloads. Answer C. Publish separate retention labels for each workload and require item owners to apply the appropriate label. Answer D. Automatically apply retention labels only when items match selected keywords or searchable properties. Lock in your answer. The correct answer is B. Create a retention policy for the two identified workloads. Use scope as the deciding clue. Broad workload coverage points to a retention policy. Labels become relevant when individual items need exceptions or selective application. Retention planning begins by identifying workloads that need a retention policy, and then determining whether labels are needed for exceptions. Because this requirement is a common baseline across identified workloads and has no item-level exceptions, a retention policy is the appropriate first mechanism. Question 20. A broad retention policy already applies the standard lifecycle settings to a project workload. A subset of documents containing a defined project code needs different lifecycle handling, and administrators want the subset identified without relying on users to select the control. Which approach should they use? Answer A. Change the broad retention policy so the different handling applies to every item in the workload. Answer B. Set a default sensitivity label on every item in the workload. Answer C. Create another workload-wide retention policy for all project documents. Answer D. Create a retention label for the different handling and automatically apply it by using the project code as a keyword or searchable property. Answer E. Publish a retention label for users to apply manually to the subset. Lock in your answer. Microsoft's lifecycle guidance uses retention policies for workload level settings and retention labels when specific items need different handling. Retention labels can be automatically applied based on keywords or searchable properties, which matches the project code requirement without relying on manual selection. Use workload scope for a baseline and an item-level label when selected content needs different lifecycle handling. Then match the application method to the available signal. The correct answer is D. Create a retention label for the different handling and automatically apply it by using the project code as a keyword or searchable property. Question 21. An organization has already created a retention label and now wants Microsoft Purview to apply it automatically to 3 classes of items: content containing regulated data, content recognized from learned examples, and files shared as cloud attachments. Which 3 application criteria should the organization configure? Answer A. Publication for users to apply the label manually. Answer B. Cloud attachments. Answer C. A workload-wide retention policy. Answer D. A trainable classifier. Answer E. A sensitive information match. Lock in your answer. B, D, and E are correct. B. Cloud attachments. D. A trainable classifier. E. A sensitive information match. Map 3 item signals to the supported automatic application criteria for an existing retention label. Retention labels can be automatically applied based on sensitive information, trainable classifiers, or cloud attachments. Once the label decision is settled, map each content signal to a documented automatic application criterion rather than reopening the policy versus label decision. Question 22. Endpoint DLP raises an alert after a user attempts to share regulated data with a third-party generative AI site from an onboarded Windows computer. Before deciding on remediation, alert disposition, or policy adjustment, which 3 evidence sets should the investigator review in the DLP alert? Answer A. The DLP policy configuration history. Answer B. The matched events. Answer C. The alert details. Answer D. The related user activities. Answer E. Aggregate data security posture trends. Lock in your answer. The documented DLP alert investigation reviews alert details, related user activities, and matched events. For an individual alert, establish the event-level evidence record before choosing a response or generalizing the finding into a policy change. Identify the 3 DLP alert evidence sets that must be reviewed before disposition or response actions. B, C, and D are correct. B, the matched events. C, the alert details. D, the related user activities. Question 23. A Microsoft Purview DLP alert was triggered when an analyst pasted customer financial data into a third-party generative AI site. The investigator has reviewed the alert details, related user activities, and matched events, and has confirmed the exposure. The response lead must now complete the post-investigation handling with remediation and auditable accountability. Which 3 actions should the response lead take? Answer A. Modify the DLP policy automatically solely because this alert occurred. Answer B. Update the alert or incident status to reflect the current handling state. Answer C. Assign an owner and document the response decision. Answer D. Repeat the initial evidence review and leave the status unchanged until a second alert occurs. Answer E. Move the individual case to an aggregate AI posture dashboard instead of recording case ownership. Answer F. Apply a remediation action appropriate to the confirmed exposure. Lock in your answer. Choose the appropriate post-investigation action family. Remediate, update status, assign ownership, document the decision, or feed findings into policy adjustment. B, C, and F are correct. B, update the alert or incident status to reflect the current handling state. C, assign an owner and document the response decision. F, apply a remediation action appropriate to the confirmed exposure. After the investigation has established what happened, the response phase can apply remediation, update the alert or incident status, assign ownership, and document the decision. When a DLP scenario explicitly says the evidence review is complete, shift from investigation mechanics to remediation, status, ownership, and documented accountability. Tune policy only when the findings support it. Question 24. Contoso permits employees to use a third-party generative AI site for research from Windows computers that are onboarded to Microsoft Purview. Security wants to interrupt attempts to paste sensitive information into the site, but users must retain the ability to proceed after seeing the policy warning. Which configuration best meets the requirement? Answer A. Use an aggregate AI posture dashboard as the endpoint enforcement control. Answer B. Update the status of each resulting DLP alert without changing endpoint behavior. Answer C. Rely on investigators to review alert details and matched events after each paste attempt. Answer D. Configure Endpoint DLP to block every matching attempt without an override. Answer E. Configure an Endpoint DLP policy to warn users when they share sensitive information with the generative AI site and allow the warning to be overridden. Lock in your answer. Translate the business tolerance into the DLP action. Use a warning with override when interruption plus user discretion is required, and use blocking when proceeding must be prevented. Select the Endpoint DLP enforcement behavior that interrupts sensitive data sharing to a browser-based third-party generative AI site while preserving the explicitly required override path. The correct answer is E. Configure an Endpoint DLP policy to warn users when they share sensitive information with the generative AI site, and allow the warning to be overridden. Endpoint DLP on Purview onboarded Windows computers can warn users when they attempt to share sensitive information with third-party generative AI sites, and the warning can be configured so that users may override it. Question 25. A security director needs to compare oversharing, exfiltration, and unusual access patterns associated with AI agents across Microsoft and third-party environments. The team must filter sensitive data usage and DLP activity and evaluate posture trends, rather than investigate one isolated event. Which Microsoft Purview capability should the team use? Answer A. A compliance control assessment that tracks regulatory control completion. Answer B. DSPM AI observability dashboards and reports. Answer C. The evidence view for a single DLP alert. Answer D. A raw audit search limited to one known interaction. Answer E. An endpoint DLP block applied before the material risk signal is identified. Lock in your answer. The correct answer is B. DSPM AI observability dashboards and reports. Microsoft Purview DSPM provides dedicated dashboards and metrics for AI apps and agents. Its AI observability and reporting capabilities support analysis of oversharing, exfiltration, unusual access, sensitive data usage, DLP activity, and posture trends across Microsoft and third-party environments. Choose DSPM observability when the decision depends on aggregated AI agent risk patterns, filtering, and trends. Use alert or audit evidence when the task is an individual event investigation. Question 26. A DSPM outcome card shows a sharp rise in risky sharing incidents involving AI activity. Review confirms that affected files are available to more users than their owners intended because of existing sharing permissions, with no signs of suspicious user behavior. The security team must address the current exposure. What should it do next? Answer A. Export the related audit events for review by the security operations team. Answer B. Apply a default sensitivity label across all SharePoint and OneDrive content. Answer C. Launch an investigation into users associated with the incidents. Answer D. Refine the outcome dashboard filters to isolate the affected sites and AI apps. Answer E. Use the outcome workflow to reduce access to the files involved in the risky sharing instance. Lock in your answer. DSPM outcomes provide suggested, prioritized actions tailored to the organization's data and support taking action directly from the workflow, including remediating oversharing. Because the exposure has already been identified as oversharing, direct remediation in the outcome workflow matches the required next step. The correct answer is E. Use the outcome workflow to reduce access to the files involved in the risky sharing incidents. Within a DSPM outcome, match the action to the diagnosed exposure, remediate oversharing when access is too broad, configure enforcement for activity risk, and investigate when suspicious behavior requires case analysis. Question 27. After completing actions recommended under a DSPM outcome, the organization begins its quarterly governance review. No current alert requires investigation. The CISO wants evidence showing whether the program's data security posture improved since the previous quarter. Which approach should the team use? Answer A. Report counts and dispositions from newly opened suspicious activity investigations. Answer B. Use the status of the most recent DLP alert as the quarter's progress indicator. Answer C. Review the outcome card and its grouped reporting and analytics for trends in policy coverage, risky sharing, and improvement. Answer D. Compare one representative raw audit event from the start of the quarter with one from the end. Answer E. Repeat the prior remediation actions and report their completion status as progress. Lock in your answer. After DSPM remediation, use outcome-level metrics and reporting to prove change over time. Do not infer program effectiveness from one alert or one raw event. DSPM outcome cards expose metrics such as policy coverage, risky sharing incidents, and improvements over time. Reporting and analytics organized by outcome can demonstrate improvements, compliance, and risk reduction after remediation, which supplies the requested quarter-over-quarter evidence. The correct answer is C. Review the outcome card and its grouped reporting and analytics for trends in policy coverage, risky sharing, and improvement. You have completed video 3 of the 5-part AB-650 practice set. This part covered 27 questions on Defender and Microsoft Purview security, including security signals, investigation state, remediation actions, data boundaries, and compliance controls. Carry those distinctions into video 4 and keep matching each scenario to the exact scope and outcome it requires. Thanks for practicing with WebLizard Labs and WebLizard Cert Lab. Continue to video 4 of the AB650 practice set whenever you are ready.